Time to go big. In a small can though, of course. This is Sabro City Limits, a double IPA at 7.5% from 71 Brewing. But what's it going to be like? Keep watching to find out. Welcome back to Rocker's Beer Review. Today we've got one of the beers that I had from Beer 52 just before Christmas. I've still got this one. I had this one in the fridge and didn't drink it over Christmas, so I thought I'd crack it open now. This is a Sabro City Limits. It's a double IPA, 7.5%, which is on the low side for a double IPA. It's in a small little can, 71 Brewing. People that, you know, they're a Scottish brewery, I think, and they're usually in the Lidl Beer Festival. They usually have a beer or so, or a couple of beers in there. So they're a reasonably well known, but lower end in terms of, you know, certainly in terms of price. This is a Sabro City Limit, so it's Sabro hopped. So you're going to get all the tropical pina coladas like flavours of Sabro. I'm quite interested to see what it's like because at 7.5%, I don't think I've ever had a double IPA at that low. I mean, I did have one recently that I've got to admit I should have did a video for it. But when I went to edit it, I'd lost half of it and it just wasn't usable. And that was for a double IPA from Polly's. And that was a 7.9%. I did comment in that was a bit lower. Usually doubles are 8% and higher. But 7.5%, I'm going to get this beer into a glass and see what it's all about. It's a nice little sort of can. So it's a good sort of, I like to have a little can for a double IPA. But I'm just interested to see whether it's going to have the sort of the punch of it. I mean, beer in a glass, it doesn't really look like a double IPA. It's got a slight haze to it, and you can see there it's sort of got this sort of it's a yellowy sort of colour. A lot of carbonation. Well, certainly you can see a lot of carbonation at the bottom of the glass there. Very little head, but it doesn't look as thick as a lot of double IPAs are. I mean, when I compare this to the Polly's one, that was like a real custard, a real thick sort of drink. But anyway, let's see what it smells like. Yeah, there's sort of hints of the sort of Sabro, you know, that you're picking up quite a bit of the coconut and lime and the sort of pineapple, that sort of whole pina colada aroma is definitely in there. Let's see what it tastes like. Cheers, everyone. Really, really strong. I mean, as you'd expect on the Sabro flavour. Lime, coconut, that sort of creamy mint flavours in there. Pineapple, other sort of tropical flavours like your papaya and guava and those sort of things. It's very thin though for a double IPA. It's quite a bit carbonated as well. Yeah, the carbonation is a little prickly. It's got a thinness about it, and actually, although the flavour's quite strong in terms of Sabro, the more you taste it, you're actually thinking, oh, I can actually taste the alcohol in this a little bit, which is a little bit off-putting. I do think, I mean, this Sabro is one of those hops that when it first sort of came onto the scene and it was starting to get used a lot, I think it was like last summer, it might even be the summer before actually. It sort of burst onto the scene and it was like, wow, this is a real distinct hop and it's got big flavours. And I was like, oh yeah, when I was buying beers, I was thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to get that one. It's got Sabro in it. And I really enjoyed that. But very soon after that, I was like, it's too much. It's too dominant as a flavour. And it's, when you get those sort of flavours in, it's like, it's a bit weird in a beer, that coconut in a beer and creamy mint in lime, and you know, and the pineapple's very sort of, I don't know, it's always very alcoholic. It is almost like a, you know, as I said, a pina colada. It's got that sort of slight rum taste to it. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the flavours of pineapple and coconut make me think of rum, but yeah, I mean, if you like Sabro, you'd probably like this. It's a little bit too thin and it's too carbonated for me, especially for double IPAs. You know, like the good double IPAs drink like a tropical juice, really. They're thick, they're soft, no carbonation, and they just glide down. This one, you know, it's almost got a characteristics of a pale ale. The flavour's quite strong though, but Sabro always is. Even in a pale ale, it can be strong, but you are getting a nice big those strong flavours in there. But the problem I've got with it is that it's a little bit, I'm getting a little bit of alcohol flavour, and I'm getting that thinness, and I'd rather have if I'm having that alcohol sort of flavour in there, I'd rather it be a little bit more softer and a little bit more gloopy as it goes down. But this is a little bit too prickly in terms of the carbonation. But I mean, this can obviously was a Beer 52 one, so I got 10 cans for 10 quid. So a quid for a double IPA is pretty good value. But let's get some scores. Okay, the scores are in for Sabro City Limits, Double IPA, 7.5% from 71 Brewing Company. It's got Sabro in it. Let's start with the aroma. So the aroma was, you know, for a double IPA, you know, you're getting the Sabro sort of aroma. You're getting the coconut, the lime, the pineapple, the sort of, yeah, you're not really picking up the sort of that creamy mint from the aroma. Bit of lime maybe in there as well. It certainly smells like a Sabro hopped beer, but it's not as fruity and as dense as you would expect from a double IPA. So I'm giving it 12 for aroma. Appearance, well, I think it's probably one of the most disappointing things. It's very light looking. It's got a little head. It looks thin, which it is, and it doesn't look very lively. It doesn't look very double IPA-esque. I'm going to give it a 6 for appearance. I'm a little bit disappointed with the appearance of this. Flavour-wise, I mean, Sabro, there's no hiding away from Sabro. I've never had certainly a Sabro, single hopped Sabro beer where you think, oh, I can't taste the Sabro. It's got Sabro, and it's very distinctive. So you get big hits of pineapple. Then you get coconut, there's lime in there. There's a sort of creamy, minty sort of flavour as well, which is a little bit weird in that mix, but definitely like a Murray mint is the best way to describe it. There is definitely that sort of creaminess in there. Whether that's the mixture of the coconut flavour that comes in, it's a weird one with Sabro, but it's quite strong in terms of the flavour. Disappointed though, mouthfeel is a bit disappointed. It's a bit thin on the mouth. It's a little bit too carbonated for a double IPA. A little bit disappointed, but the flavour is certainly good enough. And although you know, 7.5% is a bit of a funny number, really. It's like, I mean, I've had IPAs at 7.4. I don't think I've had them at 7.5, but certainly 7.4, 7.2, that sort of level. And for a doubles, use your 8% and higher. This is to say, for me, it's thin. It's very drinkable though. It's pleasant. But it's too light for me. But I can't drop too many marks for the flavour because the flavour is still there. If you like Sabro, you like it. If you don't like Sabro, you won't like it. It's as simple as that. I'm giving it 32 though for flavour. Value for money. Well, it's a bit of a difficult one, this one, because this beer cost me £1. I'm sure if you went and bought this off the shelf, you'd be paying probably £3 or so, because it's a small can. I'd probably pay £3 or something. But I'm marking it based on the fact that I paid her £1. And £1 for a double IPA, which doesn't taste too bad, even if it's in a small can, is a fantastic value for money. So I'm going to give it 10 out of 10 for value. And then my overall experience, well, I'm not a massive. I don't drink loads of double IPAs because I find that they're just too much, too heavy in terms of the alcohol. I can't drink other drinks with them. I can, but you know, not many more because you know it's usually such a high ABV. This one is not too bad. It's obviously a small can, so it makes it easier to go down. It's quite light and thin, which, you know, I don't really like light and thin when I'm having a double IPA, but it does work a little bit. But for me, Sabro is just one of those sort of, you've got to be in the mood for it. It's a Sabro's the hop If you're drinking a beer with Sabro in it, you really want to be on the beach, somewhere like Thailand or Caribbean, somewhere tropical, and you sit and you enjoy it and you get those sort of flavours. I'm sitting here in the north of England in the middle of January. It's about 1 degree C outside. It's not bringing me, it's not taking me to those beaches of the Caribbean, certainly, even though the flavours are in there. So it's very a flavour of the summer and a flavour of the sort of, I think, you've got to be in the right sort of frame of mind for it. For me, it didn't quite, it's not, Sabro doesn't quite do it for me. It's a little bit too dominant. Sometimes it's nice to have Sabro when you've got a mix of some other hops as well. If it can just be a little bit dialed back in the flavour, it sometimes works better. But on its own, it is there's such a big flavour of it that you've got to, it's a bit marmitey in terms of whether you love it or hate it. I'm giving it 12 though for overall. It's not a bad beer. I've had a hell of a lot worse beers. So I'm sure I've had worse beers from 71 Brewing, and I've definitely had worse beers from Beer 52. It's certainly drinkable, which sometimes is, you're halfway there, aren't you? I mean, it's a small little can, it cost me £1. What can you do? Tying those scores up, we get 72. So it's still a recommended beer. But 71 Brewing, let me know what you think. What do you think of Sabro hop? I'm interested, because there was a time when I loved Sabro, but I've gone right off it now. I'm more into something a little bit sort of, certainly I think that blends of hops are better, multiple hops in beer. I do like Azaka in terms of hops that are big for me at the moment, for the sort of tropical and citrusy sort of notes. And I also like the New Zealand hops, any of them really, I do like those sort of flavours. So Sabro is a bit of a funny one for me in terms of where it fits. And I'm getting a little bit like that with the Talus hop, which is a little similar to Sabro. It's got those very quirky sort of characteristics. Not quite as dominant as Sabro, but certainly can get there, if it depending on the brew of it. But 72 for this beer is certainly not bad, and if you can pick this up for £1, then you should definitely do it. Whether I would pay £3 for it or whatever the price that you would pay, I think if you're a big fan of double IPAs, you'd be disappointed with it. But if you want to sort of dip the toe, as it were, like dipping the toe in the Caribbean Sea, but dip your toe in double IPAs, this is not a bad starter. You're not going to be overwhelmed by the strength and anything with this one, because it's quite light in terms of its mouthfeel. But that's it for today. Sabro City Limits gets a 72 out of 100. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and until the next one, you know what you got to do. Keep on rocking.